787.
787 departure frequency 95 will be 1257.
25-7, thanks.
My dad and I like to hike. My dad
Yeah.
is not a hunter at all. Unfortunately,
really?
he never picked up on it. He grew up in rural
how'd you
Oklahoma.
get start?
Lived in Louisiana, and dude, we got a day off of school to go squirrel hunting.
The school let you do it?
Yeah,
Like,
the school, the bank's closed, the post office closed.
no way.
I swear. And that Saturday was like a huge shopping day in that community too, because all the wives, all the husbands are at squirrel camp, and
wow.
the wives have the free reign that weekend to do whatever the hell they want to go do. So it was an interesting cultural experience that I saw how people intertwined the outdoors into their everyday life and enjoyed it and shared it with family and friends. I was like, this is badass. I always had an affinity for fishing. My dad did take me fishing quite a bit. Just wasn't a hunter, and we didn't really live in places until Louisiana that hunting was kind of an option. We lived right outside a state park, so like the property between where we lived and the state park was like just this perfect place to immerse yourself in the middle of the like several times I came home super late as a 9, 10, 11 year old or be 10, 11, 12 year old kid, late as hell because I went and got lost. And like legitimately looking back, you go on Google Earth now, you're like, Jesus, dude, that's like 60 acres of timber he got lost in. And now it's, you know, you're like, but I was just enamored of being outside. I was enamored of wildlife. So when I do things outside like hike or kayak or even fishing in the spring, you do definitely like listen for that turkey gobble or check out a rub or a scrape on a trailhead or, you know, you're always thinking about hunting, but I don't think it got in the way. I think it just, it solidifies my why, if you will. So it's like, all right, this is all I'm thinking about and this is all I really care about is being in the outdoors and immersing myself in the outdoors. I'm where I need to be at this certain point. There's a lot further places to go, but I think I'm stoked with what I've done and how I've intertwined the outdoors with my everyday life. And I don't think hunting or constantly thinking about hunting has really ruined it more than it has, I would say, solidified even more. Definitely would say that.
Yeah.
And there's a switch. You got to turn it off sometimes.
Sure.
For sure. There's definitely you got to focus on work, family, friends, God, whatever. Whatever your focuses are. And there are times where I catch myself off focus because I'm always thinking about the outdoors. Or like how I can be out next. Or like what that deer's doing now that I saw 2 years ago on camera or whatever. You know, what are his patterns now? I think about this weird shit, and it does get in the way on a thinking process, but not like an experience process.
Right, like you still get the dishes done. And,
no, I don't just like sit on my couch and watch outdoor TV. Like, a lot of guys do that though.
Oh, I believe it.
I guess it's a thing. I don't know.
So you lived in Louisiana, but your dad wasn't a big hunter. So you just individually
I was introduced to a group of kids in a neighborhood, and I was introduced to a big group of kids on a football team, and I will never forget that Saturday. Okay, well, actually, it started with a family that babysat me and my sister over the weekend while my parents went away, and it was the opening day of frog gigging season in Louisiana. So this is like
gigging?
a grand
They call it
passage.
gigging?
Yeah, gigging. No, yeah. So this was like a rite of passage before squirrel season opened, right? This was like everybody's getting outside for that first time in the fall, which squirrel season opened, I think, beginning of October, I believe. It did when I was there. And then frog gigging season opened like mid-late summer. And I went with the person that was babysitting us and I think a son-in-law or something like that. Had never done any of that shit in my life. Like, we were spotlighting they taught me the difference between a bullfrog and a set of eyes from a bullfrog and a set of eyes from an alligator. Like, the red ones are bad. The white ones and yellow ones are good.
That's important.
And so, you know, we'd see nutria rats, we'd see catfish, all this shallow water, marshy habitat. And I was like, this shit is cool. Like, we're literally stabbing frogs and eating them. Like, this is insane.
The little boy's dream.
Yeah. And then, so from there, like, I remember just like focusing on catching lizards in my backyard. Like, how can I catch these little lizards that ran everywhere? And that was my style of hunting at the time. I didn't have a gun, I didn't have a bow, I didn't know what I was doing. Once football rolled around and my neighborhood kids kind of started to hang out more, we'd go ride four-wheelers and whatnot. And I'll never forget the coach. We won the game, we were on the bus, and he was like, who's going dove hunting with their dad today? And everyone raised their hand but me, and I was like, what is dove hunting with dad? What does that mean? Like, how does that... So dad, you know, he kind of introduced me to a person he worked with who essentially took me under their wing. I went deer hunting on their property for the first time. Dad took me squirrel hunting on their property for the first time. The squirrels in my backyard and the little acre and a half we lived on were fucked. It was done. But they always supported my interests. They just physically themselves couldn't. And so that's when it really started, was when I moved to Louisiana. Then when I moved back to the Midwest, to Oklahoma, everyone deer hunts. Like, that's like the thing.
Oh, yeah.
And so I think those high school years, like, I started to save money, earn money, and thought, I'm just gonna buy like a tree stand, and I'm gonna buy a. Well, no, actually, I didn't buy a bow. I was given a bow. I bought tree stands, bought a feeder, bought my first camera. Thought I'm gonna try this thing, this bow hunting thing.
Yeah.
And I didn't even know to stay in the stand till dark. Like, no idea. Got out middle of like golden hour. Like, well, didn't see anything. Gonna walk back.
Right.
On the way back to the truck, there's a group of does, and I was like, oh, sweet. I didn't have a rangefinder. I had no idea. I just knew that I had shot at 40 yards, and that was my max. Yeah. Where's the wind?
Yeah.
All right. And I settled a 40-yard pin on a smaller doe shot. It was the damnedest button buck you've ever seen.
Yeah.
After I found it. And that was my first bow kills from the ground walking back. I was like, this shit's cool.
Oh, that's awesome.
This shit's really cool. Like, I called 8 or 9 friends to come scour this field with me because I didn't even know the blood trail. I had no idea.
Oh, wow.
I was like, I knew arrow went through it, found a blood-covered arrow, and like randomly found blood as we went back and forth on four-wheelers. Like, it was like trial by fire. It was definitely like,
oh, absolutely.
it was fail a lot and then research and then fail a lot more and then research and then just kind of surround yourself with folks that I conveniently dated a chick in high school that had a big farm and got to hunt that quite a bit.
787 departure frequency on the side will be 1257.
25-7, thanks.